What's going on, guys? Sticks here at TheTokenMinorities, bringing you week 9 of season 2 of the APA Academy, and this week we are up against Scarecrow and his Scarecrows anyway, so Scarecrow and his Scarecrows. And before I get into the team, just a reminder that if you guys like this video, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button, as it helps us out a lot and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. But anyway, on to the game. Like I said, we are up against Scarecrow, and his team consists of the full roster is Reshiram, Mega Scizor, Shaman Sky, or Skyman, Nidoqueen, Slurpuff, Slowking, Cobalion, I almost said Virizion, wow. Silvally, Electivire, Deoxys Defense, Tangela, and Sharpedo, with Cobalion, Electivire, and Sharpedo being his Z users. So yeah, I mean, just a scary team. Reshiram is something that is absurdly powerful with perfect coverage with its stabs with Fire and Dragon. I'm trying to remember if there might be, well, obviously like a water fairy would be able to resist, but other than that, I'm not sure that there's a type combination. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, so please let me know in the description down below, or the comment section down below. Don't hijack my description. There are very important links down there, particularly the one to Scarecrow's channel, which I encourage you guys to check out. And yeah, so I mean, his team, very, very scary. Reshiram, obviously a huge threat, but I am noticing that his team is very weak to my Zygarde. All that he has is his Mega Scizor, but to be fair, with Curse, Mega Scizor can be a problem, but that's why I'm carrying fire coverage on like 4 or 5 members. I can't remember if Rotom has fire coverage or not, but I don't think it does. I think just Mesprit, Dialga, Mega Mawile, and Victini have the fire coverage. But yeah, I mean, his team's just really scary. I brought a Trick Room team. My Mesprit has, I believe it's Stealth Rock, HP Fire, Psychic, and Toxic. My Dialga is just a Trick Room Dialga. My Mawile is a Trick Room abusing Mawile. My Rotom is a defensive variant especially a defensive variant, I should say, with the Aya Papa Berry and Defog, just because Deoxys defense is very, very scary, and also getting, well, not scary in and of itself. The fact that it can set up hazards could be really problematic for my team. And then I just have a Rest Talk. Is it a Rest Talk Zygarde? No. It is a Subcoil DD, no, not Subcoil DD. Wow. Guys, this is a high quality narration. This battle happened like a week ago. I've had 2 exams between them, so I'm sorry if my brain is particularly scattered more so than usual. But this Zygarde is a Subcoil 1000 Arrows extreme speed set against him. I mean, if I would have thought about it, I probably should have brought Dragon Tail, but what are the odds that he's a Curse Mega Scizor? But yeah, that is the team. The team that he is bringing is Reshiram, Shaman, Slowking, Silvally, Mega Scizor, and Nidoqueen. So I am thinking that if I can get rid of his, well, actually just in general, my Dialga looks really, really good. I want to find out what type this Silvally is, because that will determine what Mons can do well. But basically, my Dialga is looking like a huge, huge threat against him, depending on what his Slowking is. But if Slowking isn't defensive, he has nothing that likes to switch in to Stealth Rock and Victini. So that's another potential thing that I can work with. And basically, if I can get Trick Room up, I will be in a fantastic spot. So I'm going to try to get my rocks up right off the bat, lead with my Mesprit, and let's just go ahead and hop right on into it. So like I said, Mesprit is my lead of choice, and it really just kind of depends on what he leads with. I'm thinking that Nidoqueen or Silvally will be his leads of choice on his end, but unfortunately he does lead with the one thing that is the worst case scenario for me in his Reshiram, so that's, quite frankly, that is really, really scary just right off the bat. And because I know that I can take really any hit this Reshiram wants to go for, I believe even a Specs, well, I guess a Modest Specs Draco could potentially take me out. But I am just going to stay in, and if I find out he's Modest Specs, well, then cool. But I am going to go ahead and get my rocks up right off the bat, as I do take that Dragon Pulse, and I'm like, okay, cool, took the Dragon Pulse really well. I'm going to go into my Dialga, as I can take 2 Dragon Pulses guaranteed. I'll be able to get up my Trick Room and start pressuring his team, but quite frankly, this was a really, really stupid play. I don't know why I did that. Like, well, I mean, I know why I did it, but it was just a very, like, short-sighted. I just clicked way too quickly without even thinking, as Blue Flare is going to be an easy 2-hit KO, and like, yeah, that was very dumb play. I wasn't even really thinking about that. I was just like, okay, well, Dialga, close enough. Let's see what happens, as I cannot stay in. My Dialga is way too good against his team, and I can get my berry up against like the Slowking or potentially the Shaman, as I am going to switch into my Rotom to take another Blue Flare, as he does pull the switch into his Silvally. And I'm thinking, I'm trying not to say that I'm like too much, but I am just going to get the burn off on this Silvally, as it does look like it's Silvally Steel. It could be like Silvally normal, but I'm thinking that because of what it means, because of what it looks like, he is more than likely Silvally Steel, as that would make the most sense against my team, as I was able to get the Wisp off, as unfortunately he did get rid of my Rocks, and Rocks are super important for both of his Ubers, so I am going to go straight for the Volt Switch on this turn. As he does Parting Shot out, he brings back in his Reshiram, which unfortunately will not take much damage, if any, and I'm just kind of in a tricky spot at this point, because Reshiram doesn't take much of anything. That really doesn't give me a whole lot, as a defensive Rotom's Volt Switch wouldn't have done much anyway. And I am going to go into my Victini, because even though he does 4x resist my biggest attack, I'm thinking that he will probably want to scout out my Victini, as it's just a little fishy. Like, why would you bring Victini in on Reshiram? Well, I am going to reveal the Trick Room right here, as he goes into his Silvally, and at this point it was kind of a, well, I could click Bolt Strike, but the sooner I can get rid of Silvally, the sooner I can get my Rocks up, and with Rocks up, there really isn't a whole lot he can do against me. Like, if I have Rocks up and Trick Room up, like, his team is just pressured so insanely hard. He goes into his Nidoking, as that doesn't do a whole lot, reveals that this is 100% a defensive Nidoking. Wow, Slowking, geez, I cannot talk right now. This is a high quality, I had an exam this morning, so please forgive me at the time of this narration, but I am going to go into my Mesprit to get my Rocks back up. I could have gone into the Dialga to try to get my Iapapa Berry to proc. I think it's actually a Wiki Berry, not an Iapapa in this game, but either way, it's a Pinch Berry. I'm going to go into my Mesprit, take the Scald super easily, as he does go for the Toxic, and I was thinking about going for the Toxic of my own, but considering there was a decent chance he might just go straight into his Silvally, with the Trick Room up, I wanted the ability to get my Rocks up, and then potentially nail the Silvally with an HP Fire on the following turn. But unfortunately, he does stay in. He Toxics my Mesprit. Mesprit is going to be worn down very easily, and I'm going to go for the Toxic of my own, thinking that he might try to wear me down, but ultimately he goes into his Silvally, and it was just kind of a, well, crap, that didn't work out as well as I wanted. Silvally is burnt, luckily, and it did have to switch in on Rocks. It is going to take 2 turns of burn in order to get rid of my Rocks, and so I'm just in the process of slowly wearing this thing down. Silvally does not have recovery. The sooner I can get rid of this thing, the sooner my Rocks are here to stay, and that really cuts into the longevity of Shaman and his Reshiram. But now I'm going to go into my Dialga, as I know that with the Trick Room gone, I can just go ahead and get my Trick Room back up with my Dialga, as I've actually shown that he doesn't know what set I am. Like, he can tell that I'm probably bulky based on the damage that Reshiram did to me, but because of Dialga's base 90 speed, he doesn't necessarily know that I'm a Trick Room variant, so this is a perfect opportunity for me to just get the Trick Room back up, because the more I have Trick Room up against his team, the better situation I will be in, as he goes into his Slowking, and I'm like, this is perfect. I can just go for Dragon Pulses, wear this thing down, force him to slack off, I can get my Rocks up, and really, I'm just in the position where I'm willing to rinse repeat as long as it takes, because at this point, Silvally will get worn down faster than my Mesprit, as Dragon Pulse actually ends up being a 3-hit KO, so this is phenomenal for me, as he's going to go for a second Scald, and luckily for me, he's not getting the burn, and my Berry does proc, so I'm now back up to 153 HP, so my Dialga is in an amazing position, as Slowking is going to be 3-hit KO'd, and at this point I'm like, okay, if he has the slack off, he's going to go for it. I might as well just continually go for Dragon Pulse, as it's going to hit something hard. Like, Silvally and Scizor don't appreciate it, even if they do resist, which is obviously the case. Like, they don't appreciate coming in on Dragon Pulse, as Silvally, yeah, he does resist, but now with the burn, I'm going to be able to knock this thing out with Fire Blast, as I do have one final turn of Trick Room. So now, with that final turn, able to knock out the Silvally, and yes, that thing is gone. That is super phenomenal for me, as once I get my Rocks up, I will definitely be in an amazing spot to be able to sweep this game. He goes into his Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen is not something I want to deal with. I need Dialga to be at a decent amount of HP to take a hit from his Reshiram in order to get up Trick Room later, because if I can get rid of the Slowking, then my Dialga will just run through his team. He does unfortunately predict me very nicely, gets his rocks up as I bring in Rotom, and I am going to go straight for the Defog. Just go ahead and get those off the field. I mean, there's no real reason to not go for that as he brings in Shaman, and now I'm thinking, okay, I don't have much of anything that can switch into his Shaman. I mean, if I was thinking, like, if I was on, like, the next level, I would have run, like, a White Herb Victini to switch into Shaman, take the Seed Flare. Even if he gets the drop, I would be able to recover that off. But unfortunately, because he does get the drop, I mean, that's kind of expected with Shaman Seed Flare, he is able to knock me out with Earth Power. And I don't know, maybe if I was thinking on, like, if I'd spent more time getting on, like, thinking, like, true game scenarios as opposed to just being like, yeah, Pinch Berry, why the heck not? I think I have 3 Pinch Berries this game. 1 on Dialga, 1 on Rotom, 1 on Victini. I could have gone for, like, a wider. That would have been a really cool bring if I had decided to go with that. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. Now I am going to bring my Dialga into the game, go for the Trick Room once again, and just pressure his team, because, I mean, if he flinches me down with Shaman, well, you know what? I can just call hacks. If he goes for Earth Power, I get a free Trick Room up. But now, with his Slowking in on my Dialga, with the Trick Room up, yeah, he does outspeed me, but I'm not thinking that he actually has the Slack off at this point. I'm thinking that he probably doesn't. He's just relying on Regenerator in order to get his HP back up. But this is great for me because I can just fire off Dragon Pulse after Dragon Pulse to put myself in a great position, just really chip everything down. But instead of just Dragon Pulsing again as the Nidoqueen comes in, I decided to actually go into my Mesprit, as if he did reveal Slack off there, I was like, okay, I wanted to get something out of the turn, but at this point I might as well just get my rocks up. His Defogger is gone, and the sooner I can get rocks up, the better I deal with the Reshiram or the Shaman. Hindsight 2020, it might have just been better to go for the Dragon Pulse and try to knock something out on the switch in, because he had already revealed that Slowking more than likely did not have Slack off. For whatever reason at that point, I was just kind of thinking like, okay, maybe he's pulling the ultimate bluff at this point, and Slowking, even though it didn't go for it last time when it 100% should have, maybe it actually does have it. So I just kind of wanted to get something out of it. Again, hindsight 2020, should have just gone for the Dragon Pulse. I could have gotten my rocks up later against like maybe the Mega Scizor. Well, because it does reveal that I do outspeed this Mega Scizor on this coming turn, and I will be able to damage that thing with the HP Fire. So yeah, 100%. Hindsight 2020, should have just kept going for Dragon Pulse, kept trying to knock stuff out with Trick Room, because, I mean, rocks were nice, but they weren't overly necessary in terms of how the game played out. But yeah, Mega Scizor will Mega Evolve, take a huge chunk from my hidden power from my Mesprit, and this is actually amazing for me, because with this Mega Scizor as low as it is, Zygarde is pretty much in a prime position to sweep. I mean, he's able to knock out Mesprit, but, I mean, his Mega Scizor's low. He has absolutely nothing to stop me from sweeping. I am just going to go immediately for the sub here as opposed to anything else, just because I was thinking, okay, if he goes for a knockoff or a toxic, this would be the turn that he does it. Okay, he wouldn't necessarily go for Roost, he would maybe try to pivot around, and I wanted the sub up to deal with the Shaman, to potentially deal with the Reshiram. I wanted that sub up, and I wasn't thinking if he was going to go for Roost on that turn. If he did, he would have completely gotten me. But he goes into Shaman, I'm like, okay, easy turn, go for 1,000 arrows into Extreme Speed, will kill, Scizor will come in on rocks, I'll be able to kill that, and I will just sweep the game. But he ends up revealing the Healing Wish as I go for the 1,000 arrows, and again, hindsight 2020, probably should have just gone for the Coil. Coil into 2 Extreme Speeds would have taken him out, but I was thinking that I just kind of wanted the little extra damage on Shaman. Maybe 1,000 arrows into Extreme Speed would have done more than 2 Extreme Speeds, or 2 plus 1 Extreme Speeds, but either way, it was just, I don't know. I don't like how I played this game much at all. It's very clear I was just kind of clicking buttons, and especially in my prep, just not really thinking things out. Because I am going to go for the Coil with my Zygarde, as I'm thinking, okay, he'll just go for the Surge Dance, I can beat this thing 1v1, as he does reveal the curse. So like I was saying in the team preview, if I really was thinking this through, if I was going through potential scenarios in game, acknowledging, okay, here's what he has for what I have, then I should have been Thousand Arrows Dragon Tail. Like, there is zero reason that I shouldn't have had Dragon Tail or some way to beat this Scizor. But because I was just kind of screwing around, just like, you know what, this looks good enough, why not? Let's just go for it. I did completely neglect the fact that Scizor can carry Curse, and was probably going to carry Curse, and in fact on the, I don't remember if it's still on there, but on the Smogon page for Scizor, Curse is listed specifically for beating Zygarde. Actually, because Zygarde got banned, it's probably not listed on there anymore. But either way, when Zygarde was a thing, when Zygarde was a thing in OU, Curse was specifically listed as being able to deal with Zygarde. So I mean, obviously it helps with other things, but like with Curse, it specifically says it's able to beat Zygarde. So unfortunately at this point, we're just going to kind of be in a stall war, and I'm going to speed this up here pretty quickly, just because none of us are going to be able to really do anything to each other. At this point, I was like, ah, crap, whatever. Let's just go for this, see what happens. And I apologize if the frame rate drops. Just trust me, the dropping of frame rates with how much I'm speeding this up is so much better than actually having to sit through it. But really, I'm just waiting because, I mean, obviously his knockoff is going to be able to break my sub, especially once we get up to high enough. He will be able to break my sub, as you can see. And so I'm just going to go for the sub over and over, knowing that eventually I am going to get complete, which he cannot break in one knockoff. So that's really what I'm going for at this point. And it's just kind of I am able to get Papa, but yeah, this is just kind of a situation that I really wasn't thinking a whole lot about. I was like, you know what, screw it. Let's just coil a bunch, go for a bunch of subs, go for the crit, because I mean, at this point, whoever crits will end up winning the game. So we're just boosting up beside each other, and I'm just not paying attention. I'm like, you know what? Oh, it's my move. Cool. I'll just click coil, or I'll click Thousand Arrows, or I'll click sub if I need to. Like, I'm just kind of fishing for the crit, because if I get the crit, I just completely win. But I am noticing that towards the end of this, you'll start to see that this goes on for a while, and eventually I notice that we're coming in on 10 minutes left in the game. Like, I completely forgot about the timer for a second. I was like, I was just playing it against the Scizor, and then all of a sudden it's like 12 minutes left in the game. I was like, oh crap. And I'm not in this to like win by any means necessary. I'm in this league for fun. I just want to mess around, have some fun, use some mons that aren't allowed. So I'm not trying to win by just like timer stalling out, because my play definitely would have been just to stay in with my +6/+6 Zygarde and try to wear down this Scizor, eventually beating it 1v1, like maybe just putting myself in a better position, like just going off of HP, just trying to win 4v4 at this point. But because I'm just trying to have fun in this league, I am potentially going to choke, just because I really, again, like I said, don't want to win by timer. Like, timer is not something I want to win by. So I just want to put myself in a position where I can get a free switch into my Dialga, because if he has any attack at all, +6 Bullet Punch will be able to KO my Dialga from this point, especially after I switch in on rocks and I take the burn damage. But again, I just wanted to try to do what I can to prevent this game from going down to timer. Like, this is my way of preventing it from going to timer. That's not what I want. So even though this is a potential choke, just trying to have some fun with it. I'm just going to go into my Dialga on what I suspect to be the Roost, and I don't know, maybe we can end this in one way or another before the timer ends up running out. So Scizor does go for the Roost. I do get it, and again, like I said, if he has any attack investment at all, he guaranteed KOs me with Bullet Punch. But even if I lose 4-0 at that point, honestly, it's better than winning. It's better than winning just by trying to stall out the timer, and at least I did something to try to avoid it. He does go into his Slowking, as I do go for the Fire Blast. He actually switched out, and there's the crit, just a little bit too late. Had I gotten that with Zygarde, it would have been a sweep, or had he gotten... Actually, no, because I had a sub up, and I made sure that I always had the sub up. But either way, the crit comes a little bit too late. Dialga is in. I don't want to try to trick him up against the Scizor. I just want to try to knock it out, and he actually goes into his Nidoqueen, against the Slowking. Slowking, because I knew I would outspeed. Nothing on his team wants to switch into Dragon Pulse, as Nidoqueen will easily be 2-hit KO'd. But now I'm just going to go into my Rotom, and keep in mind, I have said that we are running low on time. Like, we were at about 12 minutes when, or maybe a little bit above. We were at about 12 minutes when I did switch out my Zygarde in an attempt to avoid timer. So yeah, we're still running low on time despite my attempts to avoid it, as he does go into his Reshiram, and with Rocks up, I am going to be able to 2-hit KO this thing with a Hydro Pump. So I was like, okay, Hydro Pump gets a kill, maybe I can avoid that, but nope. Turns out his Reshiram actually avoids that, and he has the Substitute, which really, really sucks, because what I would have been able to do is Hydro Pump on the switch, Hydro Pump knock out the sub, and then if he is Roost, which, spoilers, he ends up being, I would have just been able to Volt Switch on the last turn, go into my Zygarde, and potentially outspeed depending on what he is. I'm pretty sure he's Modest at this point based on the damage he's been doing to my team. But because of that Hydro Pump miss, I'm not able to get the free switch into Zygarde, and then just try to play the rinse repeat, where I do get the Trick Room back up with my Dialga, and just start firing off Dragon Pulses against his team. But this Reshiram in, you can see he's going for sub, he's going for sub-roo shenanigans, and all that time, the timer is just ticking. Like, it's winding down. It's starting to become very clear that despite my efforts to avoid it, and despite my potential choke to try to avoid timer, that, yeah, I mean, this game's going to timer anyway. So at this point, it's just a matter of, okay, well, I'm not going to take any longer than I normally do per turn. I am just going to position myself the best that I can in order to put myself in a position to win the game. Like, all I need to do is just take one more KO, and when this game goes to timer, and then just pivot around accordingly, I will end up having the win. So I am just going to continually go for Hydro Pump against this Reshiram, as unfortunately I need to get it on a turn. I need to Volt Switch on a turn where it doesn't, or where it goes for Roost, or where it's supposed to go for Roost, or where it doesn't go for sub. That's what I was going for. I need to Volt Switch on a turn where it's not going for sub. This turn was actually kind of dumb on my part. I was like, why didn't I go just straight for the, why didn't I go for the Hydro Pump, or why didn't he go for the sub at that point? I felt like that was completely free, as Hydro Pump was running down on PP, and this does give me the chance to go into my Zygarde, and I'm thinking, okay, this is an opportunity. I could very easily go for the 1,000 Arrows, but I'm just going to switch out into my Mawile, see if he's timid, because if he's timid, he will be able to outspeed me. So this was kind of a way, like, I'm thinking that he's Modest based on the damage he's done, but at the same time, like, those are all possible high timid rolls that he's been doing. So I'm just going to go in, see if he decides to stay in, as he actually goes into his Mega Scizor, and this is perfect for me, because we're at like less than 3 minutes right now. Like, we are very clearly not going to be able to finish this game. So this is a perfect opportunity to just Mega Evolve with my Mawile and go for the Play Rough. Had we been on Showdown, had we been in a position where timer was not a thing, what I would have done against the Scizor is go into my Dialga and try to set up Trick Room again, because once Trick Room's up, Dialga just wins. But with my Mawile in against his Scizor, I actually go for the Play Rough, because if he goes for Curse, well, then I outspeed him on the next turn. Fire Fang should be able to pick up the KO, and, well, combination Play Rough into Fire Fang, even if the Scizor is at +1, should be able to KO. But now that he goes into his Reshiram, we're under a minute and a half at this point. So I'm just going to kind of switch around one last time. I'm like, okay, I got that last KO, and so I'm not taking any longer per turn than I normally do. I'm just switching around, pivoting, doing what I can to just give myself that 4-3 win. As clearly, there's no way we are going to be able, or there's no way I can knock out his last 3 in the remaining, like, 30 seconds or whatever that we have, and there's no way that he's going to be able to knock out my remaining 4 in that amount of time. So that end game, yeah, I played a little bit different because of timer, but I didn't stall out. I didn't timer stall out. We had a it was like a 30-minute plus standoff between my Mega Scizor and his Zygarde. Wow, completely messed that up. Between my Zygarde and his Mega Scizor. And so, I did what I could to try to prevent it from going to timer. Unfortunately, that's how it goes sometimes, especially when you have 2 attack and defense boosting threats that just can't break through each other. So, yeah, we do end up taking that game 4-3. I know that was kind of boring, and I know that was low quality of a narration, and that's saying something even for me. But nonetheless, hope you guys enjoyed watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And this is Styx, signing out. Why not? See you guys.